Meet the Home Defender, the final of my Fallout 4 Anniversary Edition faction builds. The special loadout for this build is 6 Strength, 1 Perception, 5 Endurance, 9 Charisma, 6 Intelligence, 1 Agility, and 1 Luck. As always, don't forget about the special book in Sanctuary, as without it you're depriving yourself of a free special point. With high Charisma you'll have an easy time passing most speech checks, and you should be able to actually barter with vendors without constantly being ripped off. However, the combination of low Perception, Agility, and Luck does make this build kinda bad inside of VATS. If you're someone who loves to do their fights within the VAT system, then my previous build is probably more your speed. The major perks for this build are Rifleman, Armourer, Gun Nut, and Science. Rifleman is our damage perk, doubling the damage of all our weapons at max level. Rifles are my personal favourite of all the weapon types, as with them you can easily cover every range possible with a number of high damage options. Armourer is the first of our crafting perks, and with it we can improve all of the items we wear. Not only does this help with raising resistances, but it will also unlock a wide host of utility mods such as Deep Pockets for carry weight or Dents for reducing explosive damage. Gun Nut is our offensive crafting perk, allowing us to mod out our rifles to be as powerful as humanly possible. Considering some of the most overpowered weapons that Anniversary Edition added are rifles, this perk will ensure that we're overpowering these weapons even more than normal. Final of the major perks is Science. This is technically both an offensive and defensive crafting perk, though for us it's really going to lean more to the defensive side of things. This is a partial power armor build, and if you want to upgrade your power armor to anything beyond the most basic options, then you'll need to invest into Science. The minor perks for this build are Inspirational, Local Leader, Medic, Scrapper, and Strongback. Inspirational boosts the overall effectiveness of your follower. The first rank gives them a 20% damage boost and prevents them from accidentally hurting you. The second rank gives them 20 points of both damage and energy resistance and prevents you from accidentally hurting them, and then the final rank gives them an extra 25 carry weight so they can more easily carry your burdens. Local Leader allows you to connect your settlements together through supply lines, meaning they share junk and you don't need to spend so much time lugging specific items back and forth. The second rank will also allow you to construct crafting stations at any settlement across the Commonwealth, giving you more options for where you want your main base to be. Medic is the healing perk. With it, Stimpaks and Radaway become drastically more effective, fully restoring you and working more rapidly than they normally would. Additionally, there's a couple of settlement items which require this perk in order to be built, so it's got that going for it too. The Scrapper perk will increase your junk yield while scrapping down items, helping you to get more junk in general, but especially helping you with getting rare junk when scrapping down weapons and armour. Last in the minor perks we have Strongback, which increases carry weight. It also has a couple of other effects such as letting you run or fast travel while over encumbered, which can be nice for ensuring you can lug all your junk back to base. Finally we have the role-playing perks, which are Animal Friend, Wasteland Whisperer, Cap Collector, and Fortune Finder. For all of these, I think I'm going to cover them as pairs, as they do work nicely alongside one another. Animal Friend and Wasteland Whisperer will give you a chance to pacify any creatures wandering the wastes. I personally find this effect more hassle than it's worth, as there's rarely instances where taking the time to aim at a creature and calm them down is worth it compared to just shooting them. However, both of these perks are required if you want to build the Beta Wave Emitter in your settlements. This is an item which makes it so that caged creatures you capture will be friendly towards you and your settlers. This means you can have Deathclaws stomping around your home, helping to defend the place from threats, rather than tearing your provisioners limb from limb. Cap Collector and Fortune Finder are both money-making perks. With them we get better barter prices with vendors, and find more bottle caps while out and about. Together they should make it so you are constantly making money and can buy pretty much anything you need, be it ammo for your weapons, junk for your settlements, or spare equipment to outfit your settlement guards with. There were a variety of weapons I used when playing as this build, though the main one would have to be the Manuel Carbine. This weapon is stronger than the Overseer's Guardian. Seriously, take a look at the footage comparing the two. Not only does it deal more damage, even with 2-shot factored into the listed stats here, but it's also more accurate and far more effective than that thanks to the VATS Enhanced Legendary effect and the boost to luck provided by the Lucky Marksman stock. The only real downside is a slight reduction to fire rate, which isn't honestly all that noticeable while using it. Make sure to stock up on .308 rounds, and this thing will destroy anything you point it at. Of course, if this wasn't overpowered enough for you, there's always the Manuel Rifle. I chose to use this as my sniper for the build, giving me a long-range option for when I wasn't wanting to get in close. It works in pretty much the same way as the carbine, and you could easily switch the roles of these two around if you prefer to, but I wanted there to be at least a modicum of challenge when I played, so I rarely use this weapon. But as well as those two rifles, there were a few other things I used as well for a little added fun and flavour. The triple barrel handmade shotgun is basically just a base game double barrel shotgun, but better. One whole barrel better, in fact. Use this at close range when you've got tired of having to aim at enemies to kill them. Then there's the Gauss rifle prototype. The base damage on this is comparable to manual weapons, but it is crank activated and you can charge it up to 3 shots in one, making this technically your highest damage weapon. The ammo for this is quite rare, so make sure to save it for when you really just have to one-shot kill anything you look at. And finally there's the flare gun. Poor little flare gun, really doesn't look like much in this lineup, but it will summon Minutemen to help you, providing you're near a settlement. And this can actually come in handy with this build, so try not to forget about it while you're busy being an unstoppable bringer of death. As for some base game alternatives, I pretty much listed them already. Swap out the handmade shotgun for a double barrel, the Manuel rifles for the Overseer's Guardian, and the prototype Gauss rifle for a standard Gauss rifle, or even the last minute. This build will still work just fine, might just need a few more shots here and there to get the job done. For your standard armour, I went with a mashup of combat and metal pieces, depending on which I prefer the look of and what good legendary effects I could find. All of this will be painted with the Minutemen paint, which is by far my least favourite of all the faction paint jobs. In order to make things look a tiny bit better, I made sure to paint my vault suit black, which did help things a little. Also, don't forget about the backpack, which is always great. The standard armour isn't too big a deal though, as this is primarily a power armour character. You'll want to get yourself a full suit of T51, and I just want to take a moment to acknowledge this underappreciated set of power armour. Typically this set gets skipped over in Fallout 4, as you can get T45 right away, and then T60 is usually the next set you'll find, be it through fighting with or joining the Brotherhood of Steel. As such, T51 normally gets skipped over, so it always feels good to actually use this set for a build. Anyway, with this you'll want to fully upgrade the defensive ratings and throw on one of the Minutemen paint jobs. For me it was the Minutemen Armoured Cavalry paint, which is a part of the whole Gunners vs Minutemen quest. This looks incredible, far superior to the standard armour paint as it actually matches with what we already have in terms of aesthetics for the faction. Beyond this, the actual practical mods to add on to the suit are down to whatever you like most. I went with a jetpack because it's fun, and that's really what matters most. The main faction for this build will be the Minutemen. They align pretty much perfectly with his morals and personal values, so there's not really any reason to even worry about dabbling in the other factions. If you do want to see what my other faction builds were like, then check out my recent builds, or the full Fallout 4 builds playlist on the channel. The follower for this build will be Preston Garvey. The Home Defender will see a reminder of his younger self within Preston, and seeking to guide him to reach his full potential will be a major motivation for this character. I know that Preston gets memed on a lot for bothering you with settlement quests non-stop at the start of a game, but I've always quite liked him, and if you're playing a settlement-focused character anyway, then all those quest pop-ups are actually helpful to get on with. In terms of combat, things should be pretty easy. The wide range of weapons give you something to use at any distance. All the weapons have incredibly high damage, though do require you to be somewhat accurate, especially as none of them are all that fast firing. As long as you take a moment to line up your shots, you should be able to easily defeat every enemy in the game. Being encased in power armor makes you incredibly tough and hard to kill, even on the highest difficulties. With the medic perk, you can comfortably rely on your stim packs to top you back up once your health does start to deplete, and considering you have strong ranged options, you don't even need to get into the thick of things if you'd rather not. Standard combat isn't too big a deal for this character, as what the build was really built around was settlement building. That's right, this is a build. One of the creations that was bundled in with Anniversary Edition was the Settlement Raid Defense Ambush Kit thingy. This allows you to place either a meat law or a fake distress signal in one of your settlements, both of which will send waves of enemies at your defences, looking to wipe out your settlers. By building up a fortress and outfitting your settlers with weapons and armour, you can then play a truly defensive character, one who looks after their community against hordes of super mutants, gunners, or worse. Most of the perks I selected were to do with ensuring literally everything in the building menu could be constructed, offering the full range of options for base building, and ensuring you can make the most out of this creation. I built up Sanctuary with traps on the bridge, a wide variety of turrets, and a barn filled with deadly creatures which I could release in a trio of waves depending on which switch I pulled. It was a great plan, but was only half ruined by the fact that the waves actually spawn in on the western water's edge, rather than across the bridge like I assumed they would. My main bit of advice with this creation would be to drop a save and see where you're going to be attacked from, and then get to work on the base building. so that you don't pull a Sarge. The Home Defender grew up in an incredibly rough and poor neighbourhood. People on his street could barely afford to put food on their plates, and his family was no exception. Life was tough for all of them, but it also fostered a sense of community. Everyone here was in the same boat, and rather than struggle individually, they all banded together to help one another out in whatever ways they could. The standard American belief in protecting your home was expanded for this young man, and rather than just being a belief of defending your own property, he took it beyond that, believing deeply within his soul that it was his duty to help protect his neighbourhood, his community, and even his country. It was this belief that motivated him as he became an adult. Despite there not being many good career paths for someone of his background to easily approach, he didn't let that deter him. Instead, he chose to join up with the army. It was a difficult path, but he believed he would be helping, not only for his service, but also by sending back a portion of his paycheck every month to help out his neighbours. His income wasn't a way for him to further his own life, but instead to ensure that the families who had supported him in tough times could get the help they needed. He made sure that folks had clean suits to wear to job interviews, that heating your house or fueling your car was no longer a choice to be made, and that the kids on his street would never have to go to school hungry like he had. Through his own sacrifice, he was able to enrich the lives of so many others, and when he eventually left the military behind, he still found ways to be helpful. He volunteered at the local homeless shelter, making sure everyone was able to stay fed once more. His status as a veteran helped a lot here, as he was able to speak to many of those in dire straits on an equal footing, understanding what they had gone through and why it was so hard to adjust back to civilian life. He served as a support network to so many people, and in turn forged many relationships. One such relationship was with a civil rights lawyer, who ended up falling for him due to his endless kindness and generosity. The pair worked together to help others, while also creating a family of their own. It was only because of her that he moved away from his old street and moved to Sanctuary. She had work in the city, and he finally felt he had shored things up enough that the community could last without him now. The plan was to finally enjoy his retirement and focus on his own family, but when the bombs fall, he will lose that opportunity, and in the post-war world, he will once again do all he can to help those who are struggling. Thank you all for watching another of my Fallout 4 anniversary builds. I hope you've enjoyed all 4 of these I've made over the course of the past month. I am going to be slowing down the rate at which I make builds for this game, as I don't want to burn myself out too quickly, though I do plan on getting fully back in the build game, so this is by no means the end. If you want to support me, there are numerous ways to do it, be it through financial support such as Patreon or channel memberships, or just by leaving a like and a positive comment. And if this channel somehow doesn't have enough Fallout 4 content for you, then you can always head over to Bad Company Gaming, where I already have multiple Fallout challenge runs, and more to come throughout 2026. As always, thanks for watching. Sarge out.